is our moment. This is our moment.
Ever since I was a little kid, I wanted to be in the Olympics. But I'm not a great athlete, so I didn't think it was possible, and I didn't pursue it. Then when I was 21 years old, I was watching the Olympics on TV, and I saw this little guy, he was about 5'1", must have weighed 110 pounds soaking wet. This kid wins the gold medal in figure skating, Scott Hamilton. When I saw Scott Hamilton, everything changed. I said to myself, if that little guy can win, I can at least play. I'm going to be in the next Olympics. It's a done deal. I just have to find a sport. My strength was tenacity. And so I started looking for a sport that matched my strength. I picked the luge. I lived in Houston, Texas. Hot, humid, flat, sticky, Houston, Texas. I didn't know where the luge track was, so I wrote Sports Illustrated, and I asked them, where do you go learn how to luge? And they wrote back, and they said, Lake Placid, New York. That's where the track is. So I called Lake Placid. I'm an athlete here in Houston. I want to learn how to luge, so I can be in the Olympics in 4 years. Will you help me? The guy asked, how old are you? I said, 21. He started laughing. He goes, 21? Forget it, man. That's way too old. We started them off when they're 8, 9, 10 years old. By now, you should have 10 years experience. No way, no way. I didn't know what to do. The only thing I knew was that hanging up the phone was not an option. That would have been the end of the dream. So I just kept talking to him. I just kept talking and talking. And then finally, he said, there's a beginner's camp starting up in a few weeks. Be there. So I went to Lake Placid. I've always been very independent. That's a nice way of saying I don't like people telling me what to do. I like to be in control. Even so, before I went to Lake Placid, I promised myself that I would submit to my coach's leadership. After all, who was I to question the Olympic coaches? But it was so hard for me to follow their advice, and I paid the price. The first couple of years, I broke my foot twice, my knee, my elbow, my hand, my thumb, a couple of ribs. At first, I was crashing 4 out of 5 times. 4 out of 5! I mean, that hurt. But I kept at it. And after a while, I was crashing 3 out of 5. Oh, that was a great day. Then 1 out of 10. By the end of the second year, I was crashing 1 out of 100. I finally figured out how to drive that darn sled. Then I started competing internationally to try to be one of the 50 men who would get to go to the Olympics. I competed in the Calgary, Albertville, Salt Lake City Olympics. But it would have been so much easier if I'd have followed my coach's advice right away. Olympic coaches and business leaders, they agree that very few people want to follow the leader anymore. And that's a problem because it keeps them from being their best. In the old days, if you wanted to master a craft, you became an apprentice. You found an expert and you followed their advice. What's the point of having a coach or a mentor if you don't follow their advice? If you want to be your best, you have to follow the leader. People always ask me, what's it feel like? What's it feel like to hurl yourself down an icy chute at 80, 90 miles an hour? Is it scary? Yes, it's scary, especially for me because I got started so late. Let me walk you through a luge run and show you how I resisted following coach's advice. The luge track, it's a chute of ice that starts 50 stories up the mountain. 50 stories. I mean, that's way up there. You're going to be sliding down that mountain on a little bitty sled, just a piece of fiberglass and a couple of steel runners. You know you'll be hitting speeds of 80, 90 miles an hour, and you got no brakes. I mean, does this sound normal so far? You walk up to the start, your hands get sweaty, your mouth gets dry, the hair starts standing in the back of your neck, because you know what could happen down there. Broken bones, concussions, dislocations, and worse. You're up at the start. You got a couple of minutes to go. That's just long enough to take one last run in your mind, vividly imagining exactly what you'll do the whole way down. And so you close your eyes and you take that run. And you have spikes on your fingertips you'll use to build up speed at the start. You test them on the ice. Yeah, they feel good. You take a couple of deep breaths to get yourself centered. Visor goes down, grip the handles, and it's 1, 2, 3, and you pull as hard as you can. And you paddle furiously to build up speed, and you lay down. And in no time, you're doing 50, 60, 70, 80 miles an hour. And the world's just doing this. And you're focused on a spot about 30 feet in front of you, just flying down the track. And people watch us on TV, they think all we do is hold on and pray, right? Well, they're almost right. We hold on, we pray, and we steer a lot. We're making hundreds of tiny corrections the whole way down to have the perfect line down the track. But it doesn't take much because the sled is so responsive. It feels like you're laying on a bar of soap. I mean, it's like that. If you push down with your shoulder, that's a tiny steer. If you pull with your handle, that's a medium steer. If you apply force with your legs, that's like doing this with a car. That's for emergencies. If you hiccup, that could be enough of a motion to cause you to slam against the wall and crash. It's true. If it's your turn to go, you get the hiccups, you have a rough ride. You're flying down that track, you hit a curve, you might be 10, 15 feet up against the wall, pulling up to 6 Gs. 6 Gs! I mean, I weigh 200 pounds. That feels like 1,200 pounds squashing me. It feels like a polar bear sitting on my chest. You see the exit way down there, you try to drive through. And it's not smooth, it's bumpy, okay? It's double vision the whole way down. So just like that. You cross the finish line. How are you going to stop? You got no brakes. Well, you force yourself to sit up on the sled, and as soon as you do, boom, you get thrown back with this 80-mile-an-hour wind. You grip the front of the sled, you dig your heels in, you slow down, stop. It takes 200 yards, 2 football fields to come to a stop. And you step off that sled, and about 5 seconds after you step off the sled, the adrenaline rush hits you. The fear hits you like a sledgehammer. Boom, I'm never doing that again. That's it, I quit. I'm going back to soccer. I was a soccer player. Soccer's soft. It's warm. You don't get killed in soccer. What was I thinking? Why do luge? Why do ping pong or curling or something like that? You want to quit because the fear is that strong. Fortunately, there's a walkie-talkie at the finish line. There's a bunch of walkie-talkies because, see, there's coaches up and down the track. And my coach, he's a 4-time Olympian, 3-time world champion from Austria. This guy's the best of the best. He's the Michael Jordan of luge. He's about 6'6", looks like, sounds like Arnold Schwarzenegger, okay? I pick up that walkie-talkie, I'm still out of breath. Coach, this is Ruben. Ruben, no, come on. Bad news, okay? Nothing good ever comes after, no, come on. He goes, Ruben, no, come on. You must point your toes more. And Ruben, put your head further back. And Ruben, you were so late on curve 6. You must steer harder, curve 6. And Ruben, relax. Be one with the sled. Have fun. Click. Have fun. Man, how are you going to have fun when you're scared half to death? Man, you started when you were 5 years old, for Pete's sake. He's nuts. Coach is nuts. He's nuts, but he's right. All my problems did start on curve 6. That's when I lost control. That's when I started hitting the walls. I got to get back on that sled. I can get back on sled. I can do it. I'm a winner. I can do it. I'm going to the Olympics. I can do it. Sometimes I got to walk up and down the track, 15, 20 minutes, give myself a pep talk. And finally, after doing that long enough, the belief kicks in. The courage kicks in. And I'm finally ready to follow the leader, finally ready to follow coach. And I say to myself, man, I will get back on that sled. And when I do, I'm pointing those toes, head's going back. I'm steering harder on that curve 6, and look out. I'm going to have my best run ever. And I did. I did. I never would have made it to the Olympics without coach. You know what he does for me in 15 seconds on that walkie-talkie? He helps me take the eyes off the fear and put the eyes back on the dream, the Olympics. I knew that I needed to follow coach's advice, but I resisted it for 3 Olympics. I fought it. My need for control controlled me. It kept me from being my best. Why is this so hard to let go? Why is it so hard to follow the leader? Why? The need for control comes from fear. Fear of the unknown, fear of failure, and sometimes even fear of success. Being in control feels safe, but being in control keeps you in your comfort zone. You can't improve if you're in your comfort zone. Letting go is scary, but letting go gets you out of your comfort zone so you can improve. When I realized that being in control was hurting me, I was finally able to let go. 6 years after the Salt Lake City Olympics, I decided I wanted to start training for the Vancouver Olympics. Only 40 men would get to go to Vancouver, not 50 like before. I was always ranked about 45 in the world, and I was by far the oldest athlete. And in order to make it, I was going to have to do something I'd never done before. I was going to have to follow Coach's advice right away. Coach said, Ruben, I can't believe you're still scared. You've been losing for over 25 years. I mean, what's going on in your head when you're sliding? I told him, man, if I see those walls going faster and faster, I get tighter and tighter. I can't believe I can even steer at the bottom of the track, because by then I'm stiff like a board. Coach said, you're focusing on the wrong thing. Luge isn't about speed. It's about who has the best time. Okay? They could clock you at the fastest speed, but if you crash at the bottom, you lose the race. Stop looking at those walls. They're scaring you. Pretend you have blinders like a horse. Focus on a spot about 30 feet in front of you and think about what you need to do in every section of every curve to ensure you'll have the best time. If you change your focus, the fear will disappear. It made sense. I needed to stop focusing on my circumstances and start focusing on what I needed to do to succeed. I trusted Coach, and for the first time ever, I followed his advice right away. That night, I did about 100 mind runs, visualization runs. I pretended I had blinders on, and I just focused on my driving. The next day, on my next run, the fear disappeared. It didn't reduce in intensity, it disappeared. Changing the focus changed the experience. Success is a decision. Sooner or later, you decide you're willing to do whatever it takes to get the job done. I decided to follow Coach. I decided to follow his advice right away. I decided to follow the leader. The faster I followed Coach's advice, the faster I improved. And I was able to do things no one had ever done before. At the Vancouver Olympics, I became the first person to ever compete in 4 Winter Olympics in 4 different decades. 8 years later, at 55, I broke my personal best and became the oldest person to ever compete internationally in the sport of luge. But best of all, I discovered that you don't have to lose yourself. You don't lose yourself when you follow the leader. Rather, you can become better than you ever were before. Think about that. You can become better than you ever were before just by following the leader. What if next time you're trying to achieve a big goal, you found somebody that had already done what you wanted to do? What if you let go and follow their advice right away? And what if you shared this simple idea with your friends? You create a better life, you start a ripple effect of success, and together we make the world a better place. Make it Olympic Day. Thank you. Thanks.
This is our moment.